Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Well, good morning. Hi, Dan. Good morning and welcome to the Greater Columbus Sports Commission's Virtual Sports Report presented by Marathon. And I'm Linda Logan, Executive Director of the Sports Commission. I'm your host today, and so happy to have our Chairman of our board at the Sports Commission, Dan Sullivan, President of HNS Sports and the Memorial Tournament. So welcome, Dan.
Good morning, Linda. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Just a few housekeeping notes. We do have an opportunity to ask Dan questions at the conclusion of our question and answer section through the chat, and we'll try to get as many questions as possible near the end of the program. So I guess we'll just jump right in, Dan. I think most of us in Columbus know you, of course, through the Memorial Tournament, but you're also president of HNS Sports. And why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about your company?
Thanks, Linda. So HNS Sports Group has been around for about 20 years, and it's an acronym for Hines Nicholas Sullivan. John Hines was my mentor, started the Memorial Tournament, or started working on the Memorial Tournament in 1980, and good friends with the Nicholas family. And the N is Steve Nicholas, Jack Nicholas' second oldest son.
Yeah, whenever you decide not.
And so Steve Nicholas' second oldest son, and HNS was created 20 years ago with the focus on event management within golf primarily. So we operate anywhere from 25 to 30 events per year around the country. And those events range from professional golf tournaments, like the Memorial Tournament or the Nationwide Championship here in town, to the AT&T Pebble Beach or Zurich Classic on the PGA Tour, and then a number of amateur and corporate events throughout the country. And over time, we've put events on in Iceland and France and in England and Ireland. And the tournament, or the company's grown over time. We have about 40 associates with us, and all based primarily here in Columbus. And our focus is to create events that are entertainment from a baseline standpoint, but then also contributors to the community from a charitable perspective, and then also creating television content.
Well, thank you so much. I know with the big footprint that you have with sports around the world, really, you're having to monitor all kinds of things really through this COVID-19 situation, and maybe talk a little bit about that, the events that maybe had been postponed or moved, and just following the different municipalities. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been devastating for us, just like everyone else. I don't think there's anybody on this phone that isn't negatively affected by what's going on. So our calendar starts in January and goes through the end of December, and those events are spread out throughout the calendar. So any event that was planned from mid-March until this point has been canceled. We've tried to postpone some of those, so some have been moved to the end of the year. If it's a non-professional event, it's been moved to later in the year, as long as the client has allowed us to do it. But the professional events have been, we had our Zurich Classic canceled. We had a Korn Ferry event, 2 Korn Ferry events canceled. And that's tough on the event owner, obviously, and tough on anybody who's working it, including HNS Sports Group. So what we try to do with each one of those events, we've learned along the way, is be supportive, make sure that we do our job until the event is completely canceled. And then it's all going to turn around, right? So it's going to come back in 2021. So we got to maintain relationships and maintain those contracts and look to 2021 for those that have been canceled. When it comes to the events that are approaching, Memorial Tournament primarily, we have been working diligently every single day to try to figure out how to make it work. And whether that's working with the governor's office, to task force, to local municipality representatives. We're doing it every single day with the focus of hosting the event the week of July 13th.
Talk a little bit about the PGA Tour and the input that you're getting with them and through them. Obviously, events leading up to the Memorial Tournament were impacted, like you mentioned, but talk a lot about that approach.
Yeah, I think it was March 12th, maybe March 13th, that the Players Championship was halted after the first round on Thursday. We were down there early in the week, and on Tuesday and Wednesday, it couldn't have been, it was just like every other event that we've ever been to. People are everywhere. They are getting ready for Thursday morning. Thursday comes, the PGA Tour decides that no fans are allowed on the property. They finish one round of golf, completely cancel it the Friday morning, and golf hasn't returned since. It's planned on returning starting June 8th. There will be 5 events leading into the Memorial Tournament. They're in Texas, Texas, South Carolina, Connecticut, Michigan, and Illinois. All 5 of those events planned right now to be no spectators. So each one of those tournaments are going through their own, issues related to ensuring that they produce a golf tournament that can be aired on television. When they start June 8th down in Colonial, it'll be 144 golfers, 144 caddies, and Golf Channel and CBS on property producing the show for television only. And it'll be very odd to watch it all take place. And that'll occur over the next 5 weeks before we get to the Memorial.
When talking about those circumstances, how much do the players have input when it comes to something like this situation?
Yeah, 100%. So the PGA Tour is an association. So it is only as good as its members, and its members are the professional golfers. So unlike other professional sports properties, the PGA Tour is made up of independent contractors that are the golfers. They elect their own representatives to serve on a board of trustees that's also comprised of business leaders from around the country. It's led by a commissioner named Jay Monahan. That policy board, that board of trustees policy board, is in charge of determining every decision that goes not only on the PGA Tour, but then there's a similar policy board for the PGA Tour champions, which is the guys over 50, as well as the Korn Ferry Tour, which is the up-and-coming players. And the players have 100% say in how their sport is conducted, how their sport is perceived within the current environment, and how we're going to bring it to reality starting on June 8th.
So all of those considerations then came as part and parcel to the decisions that you all had to make here in Dublin and Columbus. So maybe share with our audience all the steps that you had to take in order to change the dates.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are many influencers, there are many contributors to the decision making. It starts with the PGA Tour to understand where we could fit in the schedule. So we actually moved our date from June 1st to July 13th. That date was previously held by the Open Championship, the British Open. So the British Open vacated their date. We went to the PGA Tour and said, we're willing to keep on going. We had the option to cancel. We want to keep on going because we think the Memorial is worth being on the PGA Tour schedule. So from there, we obviously bring in our partners nationwide, critical to our decision making. Nationwide Children's Hospital, obviously our primary beneficiary. All of our supporting groups within the Memorial, our volunteer lead organization, and obviously Jack Nicklaus. And by getting input from everyone, we felt that July 13th was a date. Now this decision was made back in early April. So, we thought we had a nice runway, and we think we still do, but the day keeps on getting closer. And as Ohio opens up, we're hopeful that July 13th date still makes sense. So as we were internally here assessing all the details that were coming from the state, from our president, we were also taking in information from the tour, taking in information from Nationwide, and all the other contributors to this tournament, and ultimately coming to the decision.
Have you had a lot of feedback then locally with regard to the new date, and is like just a little bit more detail on maybe some of the reaction that you've gotten?
So I'll break it down into a couple different aspects. First, from a fan perspective, we have thousands of people that come out here and support this tournament, and they've done loyally this is our 45th Memorial Tournament. Everyone is excited that the Memorial Tournament is going to happen. They're looking forward to something special, looking forward to doing something, getting out of their homes and being a part of the community again. But everyone is also very cautious. They want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, that we're paying attention to their health as well as our health. And we have to make sure that we're instilling that confidence in them that we're doing the right thing. So we're spending every day trying to figure that out. So the reaction we've gotten out of our fans and sponsors has been positive mostly. There are some that have said, we can't do that. We're not going to be able to come, and we understand completely. The support that we're getting from the public sector, whether that's the city of Dublin, Franklin County, the state of Ohio, everyone's encouraged us to keep on going. Everyone's encouraged us to make sure that we're communicating and we're building a plan that is realistic, that can be shared, and input can be received from many different parties. But at this point, we're getting really nice feedback. We've created a task force that includes health officials from the county, from the city, from the state, leaders from a political standpoint, leaders from the business perspective. And, the goal is to make sure that we're hearing everyone so that we build a plan. We've never done this before. We have no clue what we're doing, but we're learning every single day, and we're paying attention to what others are doing, and hopefully we're going to come up with a plan that makes sense.
Not only are you trying to determine what to do with the tournament, but because you have so many wonderful ancillary events, what kind of thought process goes into deciding what happens with those events?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. It's just scale. The Memorial Tournament's our biggest event that we have within our portfolio. So every event outside of that is considered in its own environment and determined on whether it makes sense to continue based on the input we get from our clients and those that contribute to it. And we make those decisions on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes the decisions have been made for us, and we've contributed to the thought process, but the decision is made for us, and we just need to keep on moving.
And it sounds too that you are also creating some virtual activities that are leading up to July.
Yeah, we are. Just like everybody, we're trying to evolve and make sure that we preserve some of the things that are important to the Memorial Tournament. So for one, many on this call may recognize an event that we've done for the past 10 years called the Legends Luncheon. This was going to be our 10th year anniversary of it, which is a really nice charitable event that supports Nationwide Children's Hospital. It was due to be staged April 15th. And so we obviously canceled on the April 15th date. We hope to stage it during tournament week, the week of July 13th. But in reality, it doesn't make sense to bring 750 people together into a room and have them side by side. So we're going to convert that into a virtual Legends Luncheon where we do something like this. We bring Jack Nicklaus and Nick Price together and invite our supporters in to hear a conversation between the two of them and recognize all those companies who have decided to stay with us and continue to support Nationwide Children's Hospital, which is important to our tournament and what we do, but obviously extremely important to the hospital, important to Nationwide, and important to the community. We have another event that is a 4-miler. David Babner, who I think is on this call with us, we currently have it scheduled for July 9th. And we hope for it to be a in-person event where everyone can run around Muirfield and celebrate the community. If we're not able to do that, then without a doubt, we'll convert that into a virtual run, which have, I know, been very successful. David's put on a few, I think, or planning to put on a few, and others have in town. So events like that we think are ingrained in the community, that have a connection with Nationwide Children's Hospital, and we know are important to individuals who want to support the tournament and support the hospital, are important to us, and that's why we're going to keep them going and consider the virtual route.
I know that social distancing has really hurt so many team sports or athletic events, or even special elite athletes that can't train in their normal environment. But golf is one where we think that those athletes have still been able to play with some, of course, adaptations. Do you have any stories to tell us about some of the golfers we might know about and some of the things that they're doing to stay fit through this time?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a couple of them, and also I think everyone who follows some of these golfers realize that where they live down in Florida, they've been able to play a little bit. So Ricky Fowler and Justin Thomas have been out playing and posting a bunch of stuff that they're doing. So when they're on the golf course, they can play and compete and try to keep their games in order. What they're missing, like every other athlete, is the ability to go be a part of a gym and really work out. And these guys, if you guys have followed golf over the years, all of these players are now focused on their physical fitness as much as their actual playing. And so they've failed in that regard, unless they have some home gyms, and some of them do. You think about the hierarchy in golf, just like in any other sport. My guess is Tiger Woods able to do whatever he wants to do with his home gym and go out and play around a golf. Some of the guys on the Korn Ferry Tour and just getting started on the PGA Tour probably don't have that luxury. And so they're probably looking for places to play, adapting their workout regimen in order to stay fit and to stay mentally in shape. And I'm sure it's a challenge for every one of them to figure out on how to do that.
I know the Sullivans at home, you all are trying to start your own gym, aren't you, with your family?
We are. Katie inspired me last week. So we're proud owners of a rogue garage gym that my kids are going to be ripping it up. And the old man may be in there for a few days out of the week too.
Yeah. How have you been able to balance all that with everyone home? And
I haven't.
Trying to, of course, do all
I
this
got freely admit 4 kids at home. 3 of them are taking classes. Our oldest son, unfortunately, was laid off, but he's looking for the next opportunity. And we're actually having a blast. We haven't been together as a family since the kids started going off to school for this long a period of time. So that's been a lot of fun. And, you know, they're all doing their part. They're out getting, just like all of our families, they're figuring out how to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to finish before our questions just talking about, you know, the PGA is known for their charitable work throughout the world. And I know that the Memorial Tournament does that as well. So have you seen some great encouraging stories that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would say every one of these tournaments are trying to figure out ways to contribute. So on the player side, there are, just like every other sport, there are these virtual rounds of golf that are being played. And I know one's coming up where players are going to get online and play on behalf of charities throughout the country. There are 2 events that are coming up here in May, just in a couple weeks, that are being non-spectator events that'll be aired. One's on NBC, and it'll be Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, Rory McIlroy, and Matt Wolff, a new up-and-coming player. And that will benefit COVID relief funds, be played down in Florida, be on NBC without spectators. And then later actually a week later, Tiger Woods is partnering with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson, and they'll be playing an event in prime time on on Turner, excuse me, that will support COVID-19 relief funds as well. So golf is well positioned to make sure that they're giving back to charity. Memorial's right in line with all of that thinking. And, you know, with any luck, as we get into July, we'll be able to make sure we welcome fans and do our part in giving back to charity. I do want to say one thing, Linda. We're being helped on all these groups that we're working with. There's a task force that's being created throughout the state that includes all the sports teams. And then there are a task force being created by the Department of Development for the sole purpose of bringing sports and entertainment back. And I think they're doing a really nice job to get things started. I'm fortunate enough to be on a couple of these task force, and with any luck, you're going to start seeing some activity here in July and forward.
That's very encouraging for all of us to hear. Well, believe it or not, it's time for our question and answer section of the program. And Jen Cartmel, our Director of Marketing, she's going to log on now, and not log on, she's already on, but she's going to start with the questions.
Good morning. Thanks, Dan, for joining us. We have a handful of questions that came in. So our first one is, what creative measures are being considered to make the memorial feel more, quote, real if spectators are not allowed? And any clue if TV camera angles and usage may change based on no fans on site?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I'll focus on the television first. It will look different because you just think about when CBS comes on property here, they bring over 250 people. From what I understand, they're not going to be doing that. They're not going to bring in as many people to the tournament. So there will be different camera angles. Some of the on-air personalities may not be on site. They may be off-site. There will be just the structure of the tournament will look different. And I want to make sure that I say this. I don't think I said it in my comments before. You know, the 2019 Memorial Tournament, if everyone was out here looking at it, that will not be what we create this year. We will not have massive galleries. We will not have people on top of each other. We know that's irresponsible and we can't do it. What we will have is an environment, because of the nature of our landscape. We have over 9 million square feet to work with. We have venues that can spread out and allow for limited amount of people with still being successful. So we're going to make sure that we produce a golf tournament that is extremely safe. All the protocols are in place, and we give a limited number of fans the opportunity to be here. And that limited number will come, honestly, kind of from a natural process where ticket sales have been slowed, and we're just paying attention to how we're selling right now and making sure we get to a number that makes sense. When it comes to the prospect of not having fans, we're going to watch the other tournaments that are ahead of us. We're going to watch June 8th and the week of June 15th and understand how the Colonial in Texas and South Carolina go about things, and come up with ways to make sure that we engage our community, because this tournament still, we think, is important to the fabric of Columbus. And we'll come up with ways to make sure that people know it's on television. Maybe people are throwing house parties. Maybe they're throwing an opportunity to at least recognize the tournament and give to Nationwide Children's. But I think ideas need to still be developed for that to for us to communicate further on that.
Our next question is, are the course renovations still scheduled to take place in 2020 with the tournament being pushed back? And do you anticipate a return to normally scheduled weekend at the end of May in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, so on the course renovation, I know that's been well publicized. No comment for today. Still work in progress to understand everything that's involved with hosting the tournament and then what goes beyond. For 2021, no question, we will be back on our schedule for the week of May 31st. God willing, that the virus has been eradicated and there's a vaccine that all of us will have and will be benefiting from, and that we're back at it for the 46th Memorial. But it is scheduled for May 31st and 21.
Great, thank you, Dan. Our next question, how does the pandemic push the major schedule like the PGA Tournament, the Masters, etc., as well as the Ryder Cup in Wisconsin that is dependent on player points to make the team?
Yeah, it's all really complicated. So the tour schedule right now starts again June 8th. We go through the end of August with the Tour Championship. So that's set as is. Because the Masters sits outside of that window, the points for the Masters tournament will not play into the FedEx Cup. The Ryder Cup, currently planned for a couple weeks after the Tour Championship, may or may not be without fans. You think about the Ryder Cup, that's an event that has massive amount of people on top of each other cheering and cheering or jeering, depending on the team that you're after. They still haven't determined what they're going to do. There are so many unknowns right now. I do know that as a player goes through 2020 season, that player will have eligibility for this season and next season. They will not kind of reconfigure the schedule to reorder as it's known within our business. So the players that you see today on the PGA Tour will be the same for next year as well.
You might have touched on this already, but I want to make sure we ask it. The Memorial is a great community event, and the parties along the course are often big to-dos for businesses and the public. Are you concerned that these might become gatherings that end up being as large as the spectator galleries might otherwise have been?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So outside the fence, we don't have really any control. We can advise people on what to do and what not to do, but it's going to be a common sense approach to anybody outside the fence who rent their homes. Inside, we're going to control every environment, every venue that we have. And we're considering every venue to be very much like a restaurant or bar. So we're gonna manage it like as the state has mandated at that particular time. So if the mandate is at half capacity in our clubhouse or half capacity in one of our venues, then that's what we're going to do. And we have the ability to do that for two reasons. We control the in and out. Physically, we control it. But then also we have in every one of our badges, we have RFID tags. So at any time we can know around the golf course how many people are collecting in a certain area. And we're going to use that technology to make sure that we're protecting everyone around us, protecting the folks that are inside those various venues, and make sure that we're monitoring effectively and producing a tournament that everyone can be comfortable with.
Thank you, Dan. The questions keep coming in, so I'm going to keep asking them.
Right.
Yes, you're very popular today. A lot of volunteers seem to be that demographic age of 50 and up. How do you plan on handling and protecting them during the tournament?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're right on, and we've talked a lot about it. We've talked to our volunteers about it. So first and foremost, we are not mandating any volunteer to do a job they don't want to do. So if an individual doesn't want to volunteer this year, we absolutely understand it. We're going to let them not volunteer this year. We'll graciously say thank you, and also invite them back for next year. They won't lose their spot. One of the great things we have with our volunteer corps is that they are passionate and they are loyal. They come back year after year. So we don't want to lose their spot if they have to take a pass this year. We have protocols that we're putting in place for every one of our volunteers and every one of our spectators that come on property. I have a prop. Here you go. This is a logoed mask that Kit McBride and Denise McBride have put together recently, and every one of our volunteers is going to be issued a mask. They're going to be their temperature will be taken like everyone else who comes on this golf course. Sanitizers will be everywhere. We'll recognize the 6-foot rule, and we're going to do everything else. Sanitize all the areas and make sure that people are safe. Again, if they don't want to be out here, we fully understand it, and we're going to look to 2021 to work with them.
Great. 2 final questions for you, Dan. With less of a team coming from CBS, could you utilize more broadcast options with drones and maybe other camera technologies?
Yeah, I think all of that could be in play. I'm not the television producer, so I'm going to leave it to the experts, but I know they're working hard on it. Golf is a sport where there are multiple cameras across the golf course being activated at any one time. Unlike where you go into a stadium and arena where you have a number of fixed positions and it's not easy, but it's easier to get around that arena or stadium and understand how many cameras. At any given tournament, they have 20 cameras that they have in play and that are on, ready to be brought into the broadcast. That's a huge challenge to figure out how to make all that work and to keep people protected. And they're working diligently on it. And I know that I, along with everyone else, will be interested to see how it comes together.
One final question. Will there be grandstands on property?
There will not. We will not have bleachers. So less fans, less bleachers. Within our concession areas, we will not be serving fountain drinks or draft beer, which we're known for out here. We will have all the protective space in place. We'll make sure that no cash will be exchanged. It'll all be over credit card and electronic pay. So we're looking at every aspect to make sure when somebody comes on property, they feel comfortable, whether they come with their family and they stay as a unit on the golf course, or whether they come individually and just want to sit on the grass and watch golf. We'll make sure it's comfortable for them and safe.
Well, Dan, is there anything else you'd like to add? We're just getting ready to finish the program.
Well, I just appreciate the interest. Thanks for getting together. We have a lot of unknowns still. I will tell you that we're going to work through the month to try to figure out on how to put our plan together, make sure we're communicating it to all the decision makers, starting with the governor, make sure that we're doing it right and thoughtful. And with any luck, we're going to be able to produce a tournament that everyone's going to be proud of. And if we do it correctly, here's what's going to happen. We're going to be maybe one of the first events back for people to kind of get outside and enjoy themselves. We're going to be able to create some nice entertainment. We're going to be able to tell our story outside of Ohio, right? So this could be a chance for Ohio to say, we're getting back in the right way, and golf's a nice environment to enjoy each other's company. And we're going to be able to give back. So continue to give back to Nationwide Children's Hospital and other charities in town. And that's our motivation every day.
Great. Well, again, thank you all for attending our virtual sports report. Nod to Marathon for being our sponsor. And we're doing this again next week with our friends from the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll have Catherine Dobbs and Nick Foligno. So please join us again, 11 o'clock on Thursday. And be safe, everyone. Great to see
Thanks, everybody.
Smiling face today.
Appreciate it.